Good morning, everyone. Who has had pancakes and sausage? I'm very disciplined in what I eat for breakfast, especially on Sundays because I don't respond terribly well to sugar. This is going to be a fun sermon because I had pancakes and syrup, and it was delicious. Well, listen, we have a lot to celebrate. First of all, did anyone get a count of how many kids were up here? Say again? Who's at 40 kids? I was trying to count, but they kept moving. There was 40 kids on this stage. This is our kickoff Sunday. There's a bunch of stuff getting started throughout the week. We had our first youth. Spencer, are you here? Spencer's at home sleeping, I think. There was anyone here get a count at youth? 23. We had 23 youth. We've had 40 kids up here. Women's ministry has just begun. Men's ministry is just about to begin. There's all kinds of different things. The School of Music has begun. I came here on Saturday and there was a steady stream of music students coming through the place. The place is busy and it's exciting, and so we are here to celebrate kickoff, and the way we like to celebrate is through pancakes and sausage. I think it's a great plan. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think we should do it every week. Joel, do you want to get on that real quick? Joel's not even in the room here right now. He's over there doing pancakes and sausage. So, by the way, at the end of the service, we do need help tear down and clean up, please. So back over there, and we'll send you home with the leftovers too. So we need your help. We are also kicking off our new series. Over the summer, we did the parables, the stories found in Scripture. I enjoyed that, and I have been anticipating this next series, and the staff here has been... This is what happens when you have pancakes that are sticky. The staff has been eagerly anticipating this next series as well. And the series, we have a slide here to give you the title of the series. It's called, How Do We Do This? How many of you watch YouTube to find out how you do stuff? All the time. I am an expert in most things because of YouTube. I feel like I could do brain surgery. I saw someone do it on YouTube. Didn't look hard at all. They didn't even look worried. I'll bet you there's someone in this room who has done a piece of house renovation entirely from what they watched on YouTube. Anyone willing to put up their hand on that one? Yeah, we got a hand in the back. How do we do this? When you can see someone do it, when you can have someone explain to you how something is done, it becomes feasible that we can do it. Very often, there's a sort of a permission in that where you look at it and you go, it doesn't look that hard. Like, I really do think that I can do it. And with that, we sort of get urged on. Maybe get a little bit excited about it. Well, what happens when we talk about our faith? Faith is an interesting word because faith, we can look at it and we can say, well, we believe things. I have faith in gravity. It's held me to the ground every time so far. I actually jumped out of an airplane twice. Both times came right down to the ground. I bet you it would happen again. I'll bet you it would. I had a parachute, slowed it down exponentially. Highly recommend that. Wear a parachute. I have faith that if I eat lunch, if I eat supper, because there's no chance I'm eating lunch. If I eat supper later on today, it will add to the energy in my body and I will be able to do more things. And if I eat well, I will be healthy. I have faith in that. But in everything that we talk about, we have faith. There is the question of how do we do something? There's a book that I read initially because it was assigned to me to read. I didn't want to read the book. And I'll tell you why I didn't want to read it. For some of you, I think this is going to resonate, and for some not. I didn't want to read it because of the title. When I read the title, I said, the person who wrote this book is no fun at all. They wake up in the morning, they do push-ups for 30 hours, they eat kale and go to bed. That is their life. I know everything I need to know about them. And they wrote the book, The Celebration of Discipline. Hold your cheering down. I mean, come on, we have to get through the service here. Celebration of discipline. 2 words in the same sentence. I don't think those words have ever met each other. Celebration of discipline. No, how about celebration as a standalone idea? Discipline, statistically speaking, there's going to be people in this room that when I say discipline, they're going to go, yes, I want that. If I could only get disciplined in my life, things would go better. Let's talk about discipline. It's ironic to me that we've got the Queen City Marathon being run today. The people who are going to make it to the end of that, or even to the halfway point, show a level of discipline. Some very disciplined people running today. Discipline emerges throughout our life. There's people who are disciplined in different areas. I have discipline in my life, and yet there are areas where I am not very disciplined at all. I was talking with someone today, and I asked them, are you disciplined? And they said, well, there's areas of my life I'm disciplined in. And their spouse said, you are so disciplined. Anyone who answers, well, there's areas where I'm disciplined and areas where I'm not disciplined, you're disciplined. That you could even categorize that means there's a level of discipline. Now there's the other sort of person. The person that when I say the word discipline, they pull back a little bit. There's a feeling of defeat because there's areas in their life, maybe most areas, perhaps all areas, where there is no discipline. Where it is genuinely a challenge to do the things that they must do each day to make their life work. And anytime someone says discipline, they feel a level of judgment. They feel a level of failure. And oh good, here we go again. Someone at the front is going to say, let's get disciplined, and everybody's going to cheer except not me. And I suspect I have described some people. At least, well, I'm sure I've described some people going either way. Here's the problem. I was assigned to read the book. I had to report on the book. So I opened the book and I began to read it, and inside of the first page, on the first chapter of the book, I began to think there might be something here that answers a question so deep inside of me that if I ruminate on that question very long at all, I become emotional. I might have tears. I might have anger, but what I will have is this deep longing, deep in the deepest part of me, that there is something I want. Deep down inside of me, for a long time in my life, there was a level of discontent that I couldn't quite wrap my mind around. I couldn't put into words. But I knew that I was unhappy. I didn't know why. I am a privileged person. I grew up in a great home. Mom and dad were married, continue to be married. Their relationship is good. I've never been hungry ever. I've always had heat in the house. I've lived a privileged life, my goodness. And yet, it wasn't enough. There was something inside of me, and it would come up and it would bubble out and it would spill out on people, and I would watch as some people would pull back away from me. They don't want to deal with that level of discontent. I watched people just sort of put up with it as, oh, here Peter goes off on his rant again, talking about whatever the topic is this time. I was opinionated about things that nobody should care about. Anger would come out. Now here's one, and this is one that'll make a bunch of you look at the floor. I had to be right, especially when I was wrong. And you had to say I was right. Had to. And if you didn't, the conversation wasn't done. I don't know if anyone in here resonates with that. But I think maybe some might. And inside of the first page of the first chapter of this book, I began to wonder if the celebration of discipline would begin to touch some of the deepest discontent in my life. And my response to it was even further, I want to close the book. I want to close the book. It's too deep. I don't know who I will be if I don't have this discontent. If I don't have this bubbling rage pointed at no one and everyone, if I don't have that, who will I be? But I had to write a report on this book. I had to read it. There is usually people who will be concerned that we're not going to be preaching the Bible. I promise, as we go through this will be so Bible rich, your concern will be satisfied. We have, as a church, we have purchased a number of these books. I bought the books and I gave them to our pastoral team. And I said, we're going to read a chapter a week and we're going to discuss this together. So they are 2 weeks ahead of us. And we're talking together and we're crafting these sermons together. And we're saying, these are the things in this chapter that has stood out to me. And so today, as we do an intro to what this book is about, you need to understand you're hearing a little bit of my words, but you're also hearing Kim's words and Joel's words. Kareth is there. We're hearing her words. There's other people I'm talking to. Spencer is reading this book as well, and he's talking to me about this. And I want to invite you to purchase these books. We have some coming. They'll be here hopefully next week. And Kim pulled a magic trick, and she made it so that we have them here cheaper than anywhere else you can buy them, by $1. But we have only bought 20. So the first 20 people to get them, great. After that, Amazon will work. You can get them on audiobook. That's how I am processing it. You can get them on Kindle. You can get them anywhere. It is a very popular and very important book. And there's something in there for you. How do we do this? How do we do this Christian thing? How do we do this faith-driven life? How do we do this life where Christ is to be at the center and at the front of our life? Concepts that they sound really good, but how? How do you do that? One of the things that is going to be addressed in this is the idea of distraction. This is going to be something you are going to hear about again and again and again as we go through this. This will take several months to go through. We're going to break this up. It's not all in a row. We're going to break it up a bit, but over and over, you're going to hear about distraction. This is an amazing thing. This happens from time to time. All the pastors get together and we do pastoral things. I don't know what that is either, but we do them. And it's interesting because very often, whoever is leading it will stand up at the front and say, I want you to turn off everything that you have that uses electricity. Shut the whole Smurf off. Everything. You know what the pastors do? They turn their phones to vibrate. Pastors. Right? Can I get an amen? That's my son that said that. It is so difficult to shut it all off, isn't it? But I know why. I know why. It's because if we're not available, then something important is going to get missed. Something important is going to happen. Something important is going to go wrong, and we have to be available. And when Jesus said, "Be still and know that I am God," that's optional. You don't understand how important I am. If I don't shut it off, he's just God. It's kind of funny when you put the emphasis on the other part of the sentence, isn't it? Why don't we shut it off? Shut it all off. Like off, like leave it in the other room, like lock it in the car, shut it off, and go find a place to be silent. What if my children come find me? Parents, let me talk to you for a moment. One of the most important things you can teach your children is that you are spending time with God, and your relationship with God takes precedence over their desire for a snack. And they will be okay without you. And they need to observe you prioritizing God and your relationship with God. Go, close the door, let them howl. They'll learn. They need to learn. Perhaps they already know, and you need to learn. When I had young children, that was a challenge for me. My children are older now. They don't need me nearly as much. I wish I could have taught them better. Relationship with God. Priority one. Distraction is something that is going to follow. And one of the problems with distraction is that when we sit down and we decide we're going to become very good at our relationship with God, our minds wander. And they wander 2 times or 3 times or maybe even 10 times. They wander. And I don't know about you, but I can feel defeated by that. I want to encourage you. God is not defeated by that, nor is he mad at you for that, nor is there a bill you have to pay for that. Try again. Try again. Have you ever been on a date and you realize halfway through the date you're not listening to what the other person is saying? Come on, be bold. Raise your hand if that's been you. Come on, right up there. Come on. My wife put up her hand. That's funny. Just Mandy and I, huh? Nobody else? Yeah. Have you ever had your kid come or a kid come to tell you about your day or their day, and you're going, "Oh, yeah. And at the end of it, you don't even know which kid that was. It's okay. Our relationship with God, sometimes we get distracted. There is no boot going to fall on you. God's not up there waiting to smite you. Ha, you weren't paying attention. Squish. That's not what's going to happen. You see, God desires relationship with us. He pursues it. He is relentless in relationship with us. You could call him a stalker, and you'd be right. He won't go away. He keeps coming. And when we don't pay attention, he's not gone away. He's still there. Not asking you to pay the bill for all the times that you got distracted, but rather looking at you saying, "I paid the bill. It's done. It's clean. We're out. Don't worry about it." And it's with that posture that we can begin to celebrate discipline. And we can figure out how do we do this. Here's the second part, and this I want to be so clear on. Listen up. If you've been drifting off here, listen up and pay attention to this. Your relationship with Christ goes no farther than where you are right now, no farther without confession. Full stop. It begins with confession. There is no other way. God said this is the way. Through confession. Now, listen to this. We find this in Psalm 139, verses 23 and 24. We'll have it up on the screen here. Search me, God, and know my heart. Search me, God. Get in there. Go through every file in the cabinet. Click through every icon on the computer screen. Open the file that says Peter and learn everything. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts, even the thoughts that say everyone else can be a good Christian, but I don't think I can. I don't know how. I have not experienced success there in the past, and I don't think I ever will. God, know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. God, you already know all of my sin. Tell me what it is so that I can confess it. So that I can confess it, because my desire is to be more like you. My discipline points to becoming more like you, less like me. Teach me who I am, God. Teach me who you created me to be, who you designed me to be. Teach me the way. Search me, know me. The psalmist writes. Sounds a lot like confession, doesn't it? Sounds like God already knows. We're not telling him anything he doesn't know. He has searched us. And now we are just confessing. We're just aligning with him. We're just saying, look, everything out on the table. Those things you know, when I chose me over you, whatever that means, yeah. God, I chose me over you, and I confess it. And I want you to change me. And I'm asking you to change me. I don't feel sometimes like I want to confess it. Sometimes I don't feel the guilt necessary to make me to want to confess something. In fact, sometimes I feel like I might want to sin again. I might want to do that again. That might be fun. That might provide something for me that I liked. But what I actually hate is who I am. And I hate that I am not sorry. Confess that. Just bring it to God and say, change me. This is an ongoing struggle in me. God, I know I'm wrong, but you're going to have to create in me the desire for change, because I don't have it. I'm just telling you, God. You're searching me. You already know this. But I don't have the desire to change. Church, that is one of the chief dirty secrets people come to tell the pastor once they close the door and make sure no one else can hear. Because we each think we're alone in that. We each think the other person is desperate to not do it again. And when we are really broken down, then we confess, God, I want to do it again. He already knew that. It starts with confession. How do we confess these things? You know what? We have a path, don't we? The book of Matthew chapter 6. By the way, I don't know if I've told you this. I'm dyslexic. So that's going to happen, and sometimes I'm going to know it. But all the time you're going to know it. It's okay. Go read Matthew 6 and Matthew 9. It's good. I'm pretty sure this says Matthew 6, verses 9 to 13. Let's read this together. Then this is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be. Oh, you've read this one. All right. Can you shut it off, please? Let's pray this together. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. There are days when I cannot muster prayer, and I recite this. And I watch as God opens doors in my soul and allows me to pray. As I've gone on, I've taken these words and I've made them just a little bit more personal to me. Oh God in heaven, your name is holy. Even your name is holy. God, you have a kingdom, and your will is being done there. Let it be done here too. God, would you give me what I need? God, would you help me to forgive and cause me to forgive? Ooh, that's a tough one. God, I need your forgiveness. I have chosen me again and again and again and again. And I need you to forgive me. And that is another place where so often we just get tired of confessing it because of it. It's our mouth again saying those same words. God, I did it again. And after a while, the idea can be that God surely is going to get tired of forgiving me for this. At some point, he's going to say, hey, Peter, I'll forgive you again so long as you don't do it again. I'll forgive you again, but understand this is the last time. If you come to me for forgiveness again, it might be there, but it's not through this avenue. First, you're going to have to prove it to me. And that is when the cry goes out to God, God, just change me. Just can you change my DNA? Can you make me someone different? Can you make me not look like this? Can you make me not desire those things? Can you make me not, whatever it is, God, can you just do that inside of me? And I think God's up there going, finally, we're getting somewhere. You are forgiven. I died on the cross. I took that on to myself. You are forgiven. I came back from the dead. It's go time. There's another challenge with discipline. There's another challenge. Here's the thing. There are people in this room who are so disciplined. They seek discipline. Their drive is for discipline in all things in their life. They want to become more disciplined. If you talk to them very long at all, they will tell you about their lack of discipline. No one has ever come to me to say I am not a disciplined person who is actually not a disciplined person. Because to even be thinking about discipline means you need to have a morsel of discipline in your life. The people who have no discipline, they come and they talk about other things. They talk about other problems in their life, but it never comes up discipline. We have hyper-disciplined people running marathons. We have unbelievably driven, disciplined people. One of the challenges is with self-discipline, where you are pushing at it and you're driving at it and nothing can get in your way. We've got to become disciplined, and whatever it is that we've got to become disciplined in is the thing that is not fun. The problem is we have just talked about the celebration of discipline, and by definition, celebration is fun. If it wasn't, we wouldn't do it. I'm just going to give you a window into something that God has been speaking deeply into my soul, and something that I've been talking with the pastoral staff and with the elders about. I believe, and you're going to see this peppered through all sorts of stuff over until God tells me to stop. I believe that God has called this church, Rosewood Park Alliance Church, this one right here, into a season of celebration. I think that's the call. When I was being interviewed, I said to the board, I think this is the call. We are being called into celebration. And the board around me said, I think so too. You know what's very interesting about that? I'm hearing echoes of that in the other churches in town. Some of you will know the church Living Hope. I was once on staff there. I know those people. I love those people. And I've heard from them. I think God is calling us to celebrate. How did that happen? I didn't tell him. Celebration is a discipline. Do you know what it means? It means you take the things that are not celebration and you put them aside, because in this moment we are pursuing celebration. We will not be distracted. And celebration starts with confession. And so we confess to each other. I was sitting in an office, different church, not here. And a woman came in to see me. This woman was the most challenging woman I had ever met in that church, and might be the most challenging woman I have ever met. She was a non-stop angry explosion. She had driven people away from her till she stood alone. I remember where she sat in the service with nobody around her, and every once in a while she would turn around and she would demand that her children come sit with her, and they would march up like she was a drill sergeant, and they would sit with her until the service was over, and they were gone like smoke. And she came to see me. I wasn't thrilled. I don't like getting yelled at. I don't respond well to getting yelled at. She came into my office and she yelled. But I got the sense she wasn't yelling at me. I didn't know what she was talking about most of the time. But she yelled and she yelled and she yelled, and I finally called her on it and said, are you used to people responding well to you when you do this? Do you expect this to go well? She was already yelling. She stopped short and she said to me, I always feel like exploding. I said, have you ever had a peaceful day at home? She stopped. She thought for quite a while. And she said, I have never had peace in my home. Where do you think peace may come? How do you think peace happens? And she said these words, and when she said these words, we finally had something to work with. She said, you're going to tell me peace comes from God. I don't trust God. I think that was the most important thing she'd ever said. I think there was a celebration. We are finally dealing with the truth. She admitted what we already know, Jesus speaking. We already know this. And now she knows this. Now there's something to work on. And she went through and she pursued some things, I believe, because God was in the process of changing her. Every time she said yes to us saying, why don't you come do this thing? Every time she said yes, I was surprised. And she would come and she encountered something that, here's a heads up, this is coming, we're going to be doing this in the near future here, but she participated in something called soul care. Does anyone know what that is? Well, we're going to learn that together. Soul care is directly from Scripture. And it is a pattern of confession. It is a pattern of release and of saying to God, okay, God, you are God. And she began to soften. And she began to soften so much that one time she stood up and she told the whole church, you want what I have. And the problem was she was still yelling. Okay, God's not done yet. But you want what I have. So what is it that she has? Well, first of all, what she has is the product of a spiritual discipline that went, instead of being something she must do, it became something she was desperate to do. You couldn't stop her from doing. She would prioritize it. She would go sit quietly, shut off everything, open her Bible, read, listen, seek God, ask Him to change her. And when He did change her, she would reflect on who she was by way of confession. And she would say, you already know who I was. Now let me tell you who I am. Reminds me so much of what Paul said in the Scriptures. He said, follow me as I follow God. And if I ever stop following God, then keep following God. In Galatians 5:22 and 23, we find what it is that will happen when we take these disciplines seriously. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance. That's spelled patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. Against these things, there are no laws. This sounds good, doesn't it? This sounds like what I want. You see, this actually sounds like the opposite of the fire that burned so deep inside of me that would splash out of me and might splash on you. The thing inside of me that I hated so much that when I saw it, I despised the person who said it, and that person was me. The opposite of that, keep that one up there if you would, please, Tim. The opposite of that is this. Who's Peter? Well, I'll tell you. He's love, he's joy, he's peace, he's forbearance, he's kindness, he's goodness, he's faithfulness, and he's self-control. I want these things because these things are a descriptor of who God is, and I want God at work in my life, changing me so I look less like me and more like Him, and I want to figure out how to do that. How about you? Do you want to figure out how? Here's how. Let's go to the next slide. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. This means you lay down the things that you absolutely have to do in order to pursue God. As a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do you want this? Then this. Do you want love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness? Do you want that peace in your life? Is that your desire? Are you willing to do something to get that? Then offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. God, take me. Every pothole, every bump, every scar, every pockmark, every gray hair, every brown hair, every blonde hair, red hair, whatever hair. All of my past, every decision I've ever made, every decision I didn't make. Every truth I can speak of and every truth I cannot bring myself to speak of. God, take it all. Just take it. and change me. Make me a different person. I think this is worth studying further. And I want to challenge you. If your response to the word discipline is defeat, I have a very simple thing I want from you. I just want you to come next Sunday. That's all. Just come next Sunday. Be prepared to listen. Joel is preaching next Sunday. I know what he's preaching on. You're going to want to be here. I'm delighted. I get to be here. I get to listen to him. One closing story, and then I'm going to go. I'm not going to go far. I'm just going to go over there. I'll be back. I was sitting with my friend Dan Pope earlier this week. We were eating lunch together. We were talking about you. He loves you. He misses you. He's doing well. He is enjoying very much being a grandpa. Very much. But he loves you. And I said to him, we're going to work our way through the book, The Celebration of Discipline. And he smiled and he said, when he read that book, because it was assigned to him, as soon as he was done, he insisted the board read the book. And he talked about it being a book that guided him through some change in his life that I know that he has told you about. I add my voice to that. The person that I am is changed because of the entirely biblical principles found in this book. We are not preaching the book, The Celebration of Discipline. We are preaching Scripture. But the roadmap has just been tidily put together in this book. If discipline is something that you salivate for, you are excited by, you can't wait to talk more about it, you're going to get the book and read ahead and implement everything by next week so that you've got that taken care of. Good. I have a simple thing to ask of you. Come next week. Let's discuss this further.